Oh boy, it's been a week and I'm still thinking about this fucking show. Hello everyone, I'm Ronan Chain and welcome back to Bottles and Bricks, a Last of Us podcast. I'm your host and we got a lot on our minds to say about season 2 of HBO's Last of Us. And as always, I hate doing this alone. I think that's mortifying, but I have other friends. I have friends everywhere who like the show or are into it as much as I do. Muchachos, Darren, Omni, how y'all doing?
Good.
Thanks for having me again.
I know scheduling wise was the big thing. And I was just like, I don't want to bug him while he's streaming, but like, this was the loophole. All right, I gotta get you on the podcast to hear yours as a whole.
Worked out perfectly. So I was like, nothing else going on tonight. Just chilling with Ronan once again.
Yeah. Folks, for watching, we are going to be talking spoilers. So if you haven't seen the season for some odd reason, go check it out. In my opinion, I think it's worth checking out and then make up your own assumption. But right now, we're going to be spoiling the show. And then later on, as we get into the series, we're going to have to bring up stuff from the game just because there's fascinating dynamics, I think, in the way they went about it, adapting it and what they've hinted at from even episode 3. So I'll say that as much. Darren, let's start with you. The season has wrapped. It's been a week over since it wrapped. I'm still in shock 7 weeks went like that.
I know.
Your overall thoughts, basic thoughts of finishing it and where you stand in the journey thus far with Ellie leading it now.
I loved season 2. I feel like that's become like a hot take among the community, and it was really interesting watching it unfold throughout the season and how people were saying and like what people were thinking. And I think a lot of it's valid. I think a lot of it's not valid. I think there's a lot of things at play here. Here's how I think I ultimately feel right now. I do think season 2 was a very special journey from the start into the end. I think it was such a special journey. Are there criticisms about the season? Sure is. I definitely think there's stuff to be said there, right? But I do think and this is going to be me getting on my soapbox here just a little bit, I do think sometimes when there are nitpicks in a movie or TV show, it's so easy to focus on those nitpicks and then forget all the good things that, media and art has to offer. And it's like, okay, this thing was really, really bad. And it's like, yes, but what about all the great stuff we had this season? What about all the times it made us laugh and cry and, have these deep conversations? And I bet we're going to be talking about a lot of those negative things tonight, but I also want to focus on some of the things that I thought were really awesome as well. So.
No, yeah, absolutely. That's the one thing that I hope we come across is that like there's stuff we dug, there's something we didn't. And there's validity in both. And I don't think, depending on perspective, we can't negate one or the other just for the sake of it. Omni, Michael, it's been you like me, we've played the game, so we've been like what's the right word? I don't want to say dread, but we've been very fascinated to see, after the teaser trailers, after the use of music and stuff we recognize, I wonder how they're going to go about it, and especially where it's going to start, go through in the middle, and then fucking like close the door on us and be like, wait a few years and we'll come back. But
it closed where I thought it would.
Yeah. 7 weeks out, and how are you feeling with what Craig Mazin, Neil Druckmann, now Hallie Gross joining the writing team, giving us as this season?
Like Darren said, there is a lot of good, and I think it is really easy to fall in that trap of talking about the things that maybe irked us a little bit or just maybe confused us as to why certain things were tweaked or changed in the way that they were. But yeah, as far as like adaptations go, like part 2 is way less straightforward than the first game. So I think when we talked about this before, we were really curious about how they were going to go about it. And I think like as far as adaptations go, I think it's still like, despite any criticisms or anything like that, it's still the best, or at least one of, because at least right now I can't think of anything that's even remotely close in the live action sphere that has gone on for its second season and done as well as it has. Because I think like it just, it's definitely raised the bar, and they can't include everything, but like the things we do get, I think they've done a pretty good job about. Like if I divorce myself from the game and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And just the performances, some of the changes, the things we get to kind of live with a little bit longer that we didn't get because we're locked into one perspective. That's the same thing they did in the first season that I really liked, is getting to see more of the people we're not, playing as, like with the expanded stuff with Tommy, the expanded stuff with Isaac, and the rest of the WLF and stuff like that. The world gets to kind of breathe and expand a little bit, and I think they still did a damn good job with all that. I have some. I feel like there's a little bit of a where they're trying to juggle where they. I don't know. We'll get into it, but I think for the most part, I think they did a pretty good job. I don't think it was as solid as the first season overall, but we'll see. It's a hard thing this section to adapt.
Yeah.
Why part 2 is getting 3 whole seasons where only got 1.
Yeah. Someone who I know also has thoughts about this season as a whole, and where we went was my other paisano, my other Jackson O citizen, Johnny Bravo. Johnny, how you doing, man?
Doing good, man. How are you guys doing?
Good.
We're doing good, man. How did it go with Music Mondays?
Went good, man. Went good. Chainsaw gave me a pretty decent playlist this time, so I was happy.
Nice.
Yeah.
I do want to hear your overall thoughts of what you felt with the season, but before we get to you, I want to highlight some of the comments we've gotten. Thank you so much for those who are watching and have been commenting. Please don't stop sharing the enthusiasm. Let us know your thoughts in a respectful and constructive way, please. I would appreciate that. But let's start with Teague O'Neill, who says, in my humble opinion, the best parts of season 2A were episodes 1 to 3 and 6. Now, with that out of the way, we can dispense with the niceties. My core issues with the Seattle arc, Ellie's point of view, are to start with is having Ellie being carried through her own revenge arc. Yes, I had no issue with Dina being there as narratively it made sense, but every other character from Jackson that showed up in Seattle from Jackson behaved like they were except for the lead female protagonist. I don't know who was behind the decision to tone Ellie down for this arc, because I've seen 2 shows with female protagonists that racked up a body count that doubled Ellie's from the second game. This should never, ever, ever have been a 7-episode season. This needed to be 10 episodes, bare minimum 9 at least, to fully flesh out day 1 to 3, as there was way too much jumping around from point A to point B. Damn, Teague, you're going away. Let me see.
Essay.
Yeah. But I appreciate it.
I appreciate it. Prepared, bro.
I'll take this over, fucking shit.
Yeah, at least he's got stuff to back it up, not just this is fucking woke and
right.
Fucking HBO sellouts.
Her face looks funny. Ooh.
Yeah. Fucking Christ. If the antagonist/protagonist of season 2B is allowed to have a killing spree, I will laugh so hard, cry, then laugh again. I stand by what I said in the above as decision made in the first part of season 2 with Ellie hurt the show by not allowing her to rampage, building towards each of the persons on her kill list. Also, that line about not meaning to hurt Abby's friends, I was just looking for you, was total BS. She didn't feel bad for killing Nora, but now she feels bad for killing Owen and Mel. But back to Abby and killing sprees. In season 2 of The Last of Us, Abby killed Joel, Jesse, and unloaded a horde on Jackson. By my count, she killed as many as people as Ellie. The Last Part 2 game in Seattle. The only difference is that Abby did the bulk of hers in Jackson on the TV series. There are aspects of 4, 5, 6 I like, but I felt that they could have been better than what they were by an extended episode count. All right, I take your thoughts, and we'll get into it. Trust me, we'll
an essay.
Yeah,
I know.
That was a monologue, man. Jaren says this show is basically Abby's story. Joe was always the villain. Come on, man. We're 10 minutes in. You already want to rile up the Mexican already? Like, come on now. Like, come on now. Don't do that. Don't Anyways, to each their own. I respect that thoughts. Johnny, what do you think?
Hard to follow that up. I mean, to be honest, the criticisms I have are kind of similar to how Teague feels. But I walked away pretty positive from the season. I just finished rewatching it with my girlfriend that's never seen the show, and she enjoyed it, and I was trying to kind of watch it more from her POV, because when I'm watching it by myself, like I'm watching it, like a fucking the nerd that I am, comparing it to the game and stuff. The rewatch, I was trying to separate it more and just kind of look at it as a show, which is kind of impossible for me to do, but I try to do it anyway. And I think just as a show on its own, it does work very well for the most part. There are certain beats and stuff that do feel awkward even when you're looking at it as a show, but it's nothing like season shattering or show ruining or anything like that. It's just little nitpicks that I could have. From my nerdy point of view, that's kind of where I agree with Teague on a lot of stuff, where like, would I have preferred the season to be longer? Yeah. Would I have preferred to have had more stuff directly from the games in days 1 through 3? Yeah. Did I spend half of the last episode of the podcast talking about how Ellie's not violent enough? Yeah. So I would have liked to have seen a little bit more of a kill count from Ellie, a little bit more darkness. But other than that, I feel like with what they chose to adapt and what they chose to add on, it worked very well. I think there's actually certain things that they improved upon from the game, mainly like Jesse and Dina. I think they're better in the show than they were in the game. They're just more fleshed out. I think they did a very good job adapting part 2 for the most part. I mean, it's a very tricky game to adapt. I feel like season 1 with the first game is pretty cut and dry. It's a much more simple story. You just really had to get Joel and Ellie right, and they obviously did. This one has a lot more moving pieces than the first season, and we've talked a lot about how, it would be very interesting just to kind of see how they structured the beats in the story they want to tell for these next few seasons. Because it's a very hard thing to do. But overall, I feel like in a lot of ways they upped the ante from the first season. I think I probably still do enjoy this season more than the first, even with some of the hiccups and nitpicks I have from being just a nerd of the game. I feel like this season had higher highs and maybe even lower lows than the first season, but I'll take the higher highs. Because there's only like a couple lows for me that I'm not like super crazy about. But overall, walked away pretty positive. There's things I would change, of course. There's always going to be things I would change. But yeah, I don't know. I really liked it overall. And I'm sure we'll get into like more specifics in the meat of the season and everything as we continue. But overall, gets a thumbs up for me.
Nice. Yeah, and then Jose Revelo says, "What up? Hello, Jose. How you doing?" With me, the journey, I had no issue with. I did, and again, going into it, even with season 1, I accepted this is an adaptation. I don't expect them to do the exact same thing, and it was a lot was already maybe prepped for, because I knew that Pedro Pascal's Joel wasn't going to be Troy Baker's Joel, and yet there are moments where they cross paths, but it's he's doing his thing. And same thing with Bella. What was shocking with Bella is that like they almost had the cheat code of like, wow, Bella's Ellie is acting very much like Ashley's Ellie in the game. And then there's points that I'm like, I didn't know Ellie was fascinated by death and like violence that much.
Yeah.
And so I appreciated that. And going into season 2, I had gone with that and accepted it. And then I was looking forward and be like, all right, I know what season 2 is. I know what part 2 is. I know the behemoth. What don't I know? What's going to surprise me, the gamer? And I'll give them credit. They surprised me a lot. And more often than not, I appreciate the surprise. And yet, like one thing we said is that like we know we're not playing a game, but because we're not on the joystick, on the DualShock or the joystick, doesn't mean you can't bring that violence to this season. I mean, for God's sakes, this is fucking HBO.
Yeah.
You know, there's a trail of blood, you know, following them when you put the press the subscribe button and you put in your credit cards. God damn it. And to me, that's where I feel like it could have been stronger. Doesn't mean I don't think it's bad. I don't think it's worse than season one. It just, to me as a whole, I think I still appreciate season one. But man, especially me who I don't see Joel as the villain or Ellie as the villain. To me, it was like, okay, I know you're adapting it. Those couple moments, I really need you not to fuck those up. And I'm saying this as someone in a respectful manner. I'm like, those moments mean a lot to me. And through hearing the Making of podcast, which I recommend y'all to go check out, the podcast they do on a weekly basis. Ooh, that was the sweet spot for me. I'm like, all right, I need to decompose and like take in what we saw. Hearing their perspectives, hearing their the way they handled it, it helped take in those moments that they did adapted that meant a lot to me, like the porch scene, like the space shuttle. I don't think none of that criticism should fall on Bella, because she got the playbook and ran with it and did as much as they could with the material they were given to them. And the material wasn't bad. It's just like it needed like one more draft, and like a lot of people were saying, just one more episode or two.
Right.
I think one thing that I'll bring up now before we start doing, what we felt about our favorite episode, favorite character, and all that stuff, is that I for sure thought I knew we weren't gonna get Ellie with a bow and arrow, which was a little sad for me, but I'm like, I'll live, I'll move on. But I for sure thought that after hearing Gail talk about her, hearing what she had been through, I mean, this shot, this was the moment that I was like, okay, the bomb is now ticking. And we're seeing her drive now, and again the Nora scene. I for sure thought we would get a little bit of Hillcrest, where like she's separated from Jesse and Dina, and you see her like she's on the edge. Where'd I go? Should I back away? Should I lean into it? And she leans into it, and then it's when she's seeing blood on her hands, like, all right, I gotta get the fuck out of here, or I gotta tell someone what I just did. I thought we were going to get a little bit more of that, and that's where I feel like an episode more could have helped out. But then again, I'm not in production. A lot of people who are watching were not in production, so I don't know where that was at. But it happened. They shot already. They edited it, and
they probably also didn't want to have her killing a bunch of dogs.
Which and again, which again, it was a little thing.
I
like,
respect it.
Where's Alice? Where is that gonna happen in the aquarium? It didn't, which I'm like, all right, I can live with that. But it would have been I don't know about y'all, but it would have been fascinating to see her in Hillcrest, maybe find the bow and arrow just for that one episode.
Yeah.
And she starts killing not only infected, but the wolves and the Seraphites, and see her being like, no one is clear of her range at this point. Like anybody can get it, and it's now going to be a big burden on her from all these factors and whatnot, which I think would have been a stronger point. But of what we got out of Pedro as Joel, his presence is just as strong as it is in the game, and dare I say probably more. Yeah, which helped me a lot, because I know I've told y'all, but like I'm mixed on the game still on part 2, and I appreciated his presence in this season. But does anybody have a specific thing that like maybe spend more time here or less here? Again, I'll say this, that like I echo what Johnny was saying, that I was very impressed with where they took Dina and Jesse in this adaptation.
Yeah.
I mean, we could get really in the weeds of like what we could have done and what we didn't do. I agree. I really missed. I feel like day 1 was the best job they did at adapting a day, where like they hit the big beats I wanted them to hit. They hit the TV station. They hit the subway. They hit finding the theater.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
After that, it started feeling like, okay, instead of like doing direct like references of these locations and scenes and whatever, we're gonna kind of hodgepodge them together and like kind of give you vibes of the day, but without giving you actual like set pieces from the day. Where like I do really enjoy episode 5 because I do like seeing the stalkers and the seraphites and stuff. But I was kind of just like, man, I wish we could have gone to that office building, somehow end up in the sewers, pop out of the sewers, end up in the park, and have the seraphites in the park and stuff like that. There's like hit those little set pieces, have Hillcrest. I think Hillcrest is maybe like probably one of the biggest set pieces in Ellie's whole journey, and it's just completely missing without any type of adaptation. That always was a part that stood out to me a lot, and there's a bunch of environmental storytelling going on in Hillcrest too. So like missing Hillcrest to me was kind of huge. And then day 3 didn't even feel like a day. It felt like an afternoon. Which day 3 was the one while I was kind of a little lukewarm on the finale. I was like, because it kind of felt a little like that's where the rush felt real. Like we're just cramming stuff to get to the end, pretty much. Where I think if you have another episode or 2, you have one maybe in Hillcrest, you have another one building up the journey to get to Abby, and then actually in the finale have her get to Abby in the aquarium and all that.
Yeah.
And I guess it kind of did piss me off a little bit that we go to the Seraphite Island for no reason, really. Just to kind of emphasize, like, oh, kids are bad too. Like, you know, like, I don't know, like that, just for that little reference, be like, oh, she wanted to save a kid and now a kid's trying to get her killed. I was like, I get it, dude. This world's fucked. Like, I didn't need another, like, little representation of that. It was cool visually. I mean, I always like seeing the Seraphites with, like, you know, the little in the woods with the torches and stuff. It's cool, but like when we could have gotten more day 3 stuff, like I said, we didn't get a Shambler this season. I think you do the arcade where Ellie gets kind of fucking stuck on the boat instead of having like the bloater be there. Maybe have a Shambler be there, and that'd be like your Shambler for the season, and then get to the aquarium or something. I liked the whole part of when you're actually stealing the boat as Ellie in that mall. And they kind of sort of tried to kind of do that when you see all the wolves kind of getting ready to go to the island. But
the launch.
Like it's just kind of little things like that bugged me a little bit. Like I said, I think day 1 they did a good job of hitting the big beats I want them to hit. Day 2 they made me remember the big beats that I wish they would have hit a little bit more directly. And then day 3 I was like, all right, we're kind of doing like none of the big beats except for the whole thing with Jesse. And I did think that scene with Jesse was very strong. Yeah. But like I was just like, I don't know why we're going to the Scar Island with Ellie. I get that it's cool to find out that there was a mission, like a level of that in the game that got cut, but I didn't really need to see it in the show.
Because it just feels like that was weird. Moving on.
Yeah, and then when I was watching with my girlfriend too, she was like, "Why did that happen?" I was like, "Exactly." I was like, she didn't play the game. She's like, "Why did we go there?" It's like, I don't know, but we did. I was like,
poetry, man, because maybe that might happen again later on, and it's to such a point.
And I don't even think we needed to see the wolves attack that Scar, because like that to me, like honestly, and again, it has nothing to do with Bella. My biggest flaw with the season is Ellie. Ellie wouldn't have given a fuck if the wolves were jumping a Seraphite. She doesn't care. She's there for one reason and one reason only, and that's to kill Abby and anybody that gets in her way. And just, I don't know. I wasn't crazy about the writing of Ellie. I think they made her too dumb. Like, Ellie's not a dumb character. They took her from being impulsive and emotional from part 2 to, oh, she's stupid. Like, no, she's not stupid. She's just very impulsive.
Of like, oh, why? Because this and this. Oh, we were doing right, and I was like, Ellie, god damn it! It's like, no, that's not why we're talking about this. Yeah,
I just jump into like, oh, so you're saying Jesse a fucking why? Like, it's funny, but it's like, it's just like, I don't know, like, and I felt bad saying it too. I was like, she also just felt too happy, like.
Yeah,
she's not joking with Dina when they're in Seattle, and if she does, it's a very dry, like not like
dark sense of humor,
goofy joke. Like it's like really like part 1 Ellie is gone except for the flashbacks. Really, like she is gone. Where she felt way too much like part 1 Ellie in like the modern Seattle times for me, where I was like, dude, you're too happy. There's no I'm gonna be a dad and like joking and stuff like that. Like that stuff really didn't work for me, and that also doesn't help with how we were talking about talked about last podcast episode too, where it's like they kind of give and take with the violence, where it's like they give you moments of extreme violence, but then they're like shy away from it in the next episode. It's like, do we have a threshold of violence that we can only do? Like, it's HBO. Why are we not? The Walking Dead did way more like violence. Like it's HBO. Let's fucking send it. Like, we're gonna have Joel die in a brutal way. We're gonna see Sarah fights like gut people. Why can't Ellie kill some people when, like, I don't know. Like, it was kind of.
I feel like it had to be like a studio note or something.
It must
because
have
they
been.
shot the game accurate interaction with Mel and Owen, and then it didn't make it into the show. Yeah, I saw they posted a behind the scenes thing on it on Twitter, and they didn't go with it. And then there was also the opening in season 1 where she's sparring with that huge dude, where she's practicing, showing like what she's capable of, what she's been like training to do, and all these things. And it's like the show also forgot she was raised as a child soldier,
right?
And like she grew up in a military school. She grew up as a part of Fedra, like, and then
the basics.
Like, I get like having Dina do some stuff and have some importance and some things that maybe she's not thinking about, but like it made it seem like Ellie would have just choked on her own air the second she stepped outside of Jackson. When I mean, in the game, and I this makes sense that they cut it, and because I even in the game I was like, really? When she decided to solo her way to Salt Lake City,
that makes sense.
To not do
it's
that,
a very video gamey thing to happen.
Like, I just went by myself one day and nobody asked where I've been gone for like 2 weeks, I guess. And I just went to go double check and see if any remnants are still here. Like,
confirmation.
I get that, like, from a character point of view, like that, because it expresses like how desperately she needs to know, and Joel's not giving that to her. But then at the same time of that, I'm just like, how? And so I get them dancing around that, but then that's the capability, though. Game Ellie 100% could have done that, and Game Ellie is this serial killer they've been hearing about on the radio. Like, from their point of view, like when you're on Abby's side of it, they don't know who's taking their people out. They think it's a force. It's a bunch of people. They have she is Michael freaking Myers. And they're trying to figure out what is happening. What's happening to my men? And then like when Owen was like, all that was you? And she was like, fuck yeah. Like, that's all so gone. So like, it's just like, but then they have this moment where the Nora thing, I felt like that moment was darker in the show than it was in the game, because there was like a sadness and a hesitation in the game to building up to it, and she turned into that like killer mode in the show. Like,
I don't care, whatever she went,
because there wasn't like
I know
in the game that was self-defense that left Ellie with the pipe, because Nora had it, was swinging at her, and she caught it, she yanked it away, and then there was like I'm not getting what I want. Do I really want to do this? And it starts off slow, and then bam, bam, and when she's not getting what she wants in the game or in the show, Ellie's like, that looks nice. That'll do just great. And then she just shuts down. Like that like facial expression, or I guess lack thereof, from Bella in that moment was like, oh God, what is this?
And like,
then
I think
none of that after.
And like, I think I like that. Like, I like the idea in theory that you get to see the evolution of that darkness creep in. Like, I think that's a really cool. And like, up until that point, like that episode, I was like, oh, what we've been doing is we've been watching her turn dark, and what we've been seeing is her trying to cope throughout the season. That's why she's been so happy. But I don't think there was quite enough build up. And then you kind of like reverted the very, like the start of the final episode. And I feel like that could have been paced down better, which I do agree with some of the criticisms. That's like, you should have maybe had a couple more episodes to let that journey feel more natural for her, instead of like turning a light on and then turning it off and then turning it on and turning it off again.
Yeah, because we have a full flashback episode before you check back in. So like in
Yeah.
real time, it's like it is like a light switch kind of.
Right.
It's just like that's the give and take too. It's like they give you like once she starts beating the shit out of Nora, I was like, wow, like Bella can take it there. Like
Right,
they can be
right.
that dark. Like we're gonna start, like you said, Darren, like we're gonna go there now. Like this is switch has been flipped. She's a fucking monster now. Like it's done.
And
But
we
then-
lost. I'm
and
going to
then
kill
it's-
every last one of them too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
From
And it's
the announcement teaser, yeah.
Yeah, and it's just gone. And then like I appreciate the different take on the Mel and Owen scene, but like someone said somewhere, and it was like, but you make Ellie's most impactful kill in the entire game a mistake.
Right.
An
right.
accident.
And it's like, like, I don't know, like I don't need to see her kill a bunch of dogs and shit, but like but you just need that darkness there. Like it's just not there. It comes and goes. Like it's a little weird. Like I don't.
Because if the humor like is supposed to be a mask, I guess maybe they were trying to set that up with like the
Yeah.
Gale scene
Yeah.
at the hospital where she's
Right.
just like turning it on and then turning it on for the council when they're doing the vote.
And her whole thing of
every
like
time
she's always
she's
lying.
alone, yeah,
Yes.
and then every time
Yeah.
she's alone, it's just like you see Bella's face just go to dead
Yeah.
neutral
Yeah.
right after something like that, but then it never happens again
Right.
throughout the rest of the journey until Ellie kills Nora. That's the closest
Right.
we get to a moment
That's
like
it.
that.
Yeah.
And then, but outside of all of that, there's no moments that tell me the dad thing wasn't a genuine in the moment reaction, or the way that she dances around some of the other stuff, or isn't thinking about things like when they blindly run into the Shambler thing.
Yeah.
But I don't know, like it's the Shambler scene though was fucking cool.
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
that's
Like, that was
what's fascinating
terrifying.
to me. Like they hint at something that's way worse and like more dangerous than the Shambler, but you don't show us the Shambler. It's mind bending.
Hey, if we don't get that next season, I'm going to be really sad.
It's like what else are you taking away? Because and here's another thing that I saw after the scene concluded is that there's a BTS of Bella doing like a stunt move, like pulling someone quick with a gun that way, and I'm like, I don't remember that at all.
But yeah, the John Wick choreo where they were
Yes.
practicing for these
Mhm.
combat scenes, and then none of them
Yeah.
happen.
None
And
of it's
it's-
there.
That's why, like again, for if anybody at HBO or anybody in the crew is watching this, we're not being ungrateful. We're just being like, wow,
I'm
we were.
confused.
I was going like with the escalation again. What's her name? The counselor Gail, building up from her
Yeah.
from a therapist perspective, but like, I don't know, this is not nurturing. This is nature, and then you see that when she's out of her zone, be like, you're not in Jackson anymore. Like, and that's why, to me, I think I told Gianni about this, but the moment when she pulls her shirt off and you see the scars in her back,
Where'd they
visually,
come
I was
from?
like, visually, I was like, oh God, but now thinking about it, I didn't feel the journey we got to those scars.
No.
My immediate reaction came from what I know about the game. I remember how brutal it was
Same.
getting to that
Mhm.
moment. Like
Because
that's
I
why
didn't think about it. Because after the fact too, I saw somebody mention that. I was like, wait a minute. In the show, where did any of those even come from?
Yeah, you don't see any of that.
she fell
Like,
down the escalator once.
Yeah, she
like, nah,
breaks her
that's not from
fucking
that.
back on the way down to get Nora, pretty much. Like, that alone could have destroyed her back. And then
Yeah.
Hillcrest and all the days before. Like, that scene, too. Like, that's one of my favorite scenes in the game is when she comes back and she's just fucking traumatized from what she
Because in
had
the show,
to do.
she didn't even fall into B2, did she?
No, she just
She
went
just
down.
climbed down
Yeah, she just
after
went down.
Nora fell, but she didn't.
Yeah. So I was like, how the fuck is her? Like, I even thought that too when I was watching it the first time. I was like, okay, I love the scene from the game, but like, you didn't fall anywhere. You've barely got in any combat. How is your back destroyed? Like, is the fucking chair you sat in like really uncomfortable? Like, what happened? Like, how's your back looking like this? I don't understand. And then that scene. Again, that's like the finale just took some of the most impactful scenes for me from Ellie's journey, and I just didn't.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I just didn't really like it. Like, I don't know how I feel about Ellie being like, "Oh, I don't know if she got what she deserved," and then she tells Dina the whole thing about Joel. Like, I don't really think I dig that too much. Like, I don't know. Like, I respect it. Like Dina knowing and everything, but I don't know how I feel about it. But
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, it's just, I almost think they were scared of making Ellie too unlikable.
Yeah.
Where in the game they were not afraid to take it there.
No
They're
holds
just like,
barred.
this is what she's gonna do for her revenge.
And
She's gonna do
especially-
terrible things.
And it's fascinating that they didn't take that into account, knowing that they cast Pedro as Joel, and people love Pedro, and you're gonna kill him off in the second episode, and I'll never forget it. You know, I knew watching Omni's reaction. I know how he felt because we've been through this, but like the people who had never played the game, it was like you're gonna kill off the main lead, the biggest superstar in the world right now in the second episode. What the fuck is going on?
Yeah.
And then you get to this stuff, and it's like, okay, you weren't scared to do that. But why was there an air of hesitation with this? Because we're not asking you have to do the exact same thing in the game, but like that's part of part 2 is that like that's a whole metamorphosis that for better for worse. And to be quite frank,
I mean, it's the point.
yes, like
point.
it's the point of the game. And to be frank, what she goes through and how dark she gets, it was a lot for a lot of us. It was the dynamic of playing a game. I can let out my anger of seeing Joel and having to watch and sit through this. I can get it out on a game, on a video game character NPCs. So I'm like, all right, that's where I can let that steam off. And then you throw in the stuff like, imagine when that game came out, how we all felt feeling to like let some stuff out. And it just just that juxtaposition is so fascinating to see. I'm like, wow, like it feels like you pulled the rug from us where you didn't need to, and just let it simmer. Just see what happens. And what's going to happen now? If they double down on that violence in season 3, it's going to be tough for us to connect with Abby, who are like, what the fuck? What do you mean? We're going to have to go back in time and start from day one all over again and be like, well, where's the balance now with you hone in on Abby's violence, but you did it on Ellie? And what you're saying about the cycle of violence that you were trying to tackle in both the game and in the show now, it's just it feels convoluted for the sake of not having to be that convoluted. It's just like part 2 is what it is. When you chose to adapt The Last of Us, that comes with it. Yeah, I knew that going to it. I knew as much as I was looking forward to the draft scene and it's okay, baby girl. I knew what I have to pay later on down the line. Imagine now what I'm still gonna have to pay for season 3, and God knows if they do season 4 now, if they where they choose to end season 3. And so that's where my biggest nitpicks, you may call it, critique is. It again, I'm not losing sleep over it, but I'm just like, and again, thankfully, and I feel bad for those who love part 2 because I don't love it, but I'm like, phew. But like it's unnecessary. I think it's just unnecessary.
And I don't think any of us want like a 1-for-1 recreation of the game. It's just like there's certain like essences of the game that you really have to nail.
Yeah.
And I think the aesthetic is great, like the way the show looks and everything. They nailed the aesthetic of part 2. But there's just the like Ellie not feeling like Ellie from part 2 really kind of hurts the essence of adapting part 2.
Like the spirit and the point. Like the whole point of the message is dulled because of these changes.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Because there's changes that I loved, like seeing Jackson. Like
yes.
that
what
stuff
happened.
is great.
Because
I care so much more about them now.
Like it's like so much more like the opening section. That was like having Tommy not be with Joel.
Yeah.
I thought was a really good choice.
Yeah.
And the way Joel gets into the situation with Abby was a really good choice, because we've talked about this. Like, one of my hang-ups on the game is I have to really because we didn't get to see any of that time, we didn't get to spend time with Joel, we didn't get any of this. So like from a player's perspective, you're going from where you met Joel to that. And I'm just like, the Joel I know, how did he get in this situation so easily? Like it just seemed like, and you can headcanon that. Oh, it's been 5 years. He doesn't have to fight to survive anymore. Like you can headcanon that, but like when you just like if you're just watching what is shown to you, it is kind of like jarring to be like, oh,
Right.
how did Joel fall for this? Because it's like everything you saw, you're like, oh, all of his security measures, his distrust, all of that went out the window in this situation. And then he found himself trapped. And I was like, there's a couple things that like bothered me about that. So they reframed all of that in a way that I think fixed every one of my criticisms with that. And then I also putting Dina and Joel together at that point in time. That's also two of the most important people to Ellie.
Yes.
Motivate her to go out into the storm, to go through all of this, to go find them too. That I thought that also escalates her need to go out and find them as well. And then just on the flip side of that, it gives Tommy some cool stuff to do, show like his leadership at Jackson. And then we got the battle of Jackson, like with our own little Winterfell. That you could see. And that was just all that was super cool. Like there's stuff like that I really dug. And Dina, Dina is so much better than the game Dina.
Yeah, shout out to Shannon Woodward. But what Isabella did, this look will never leave my face now when I think of Dina like that. And just again, you take this and that, it's both. I'm like, wow, just like
she's just got so much more personality. But again, like that's the give and the take, I guess, with her having her involved so much more in the story is what it did to Ellie, but also in just Jesse. He was great in the game and stuff like that too, but they gave him so much more meat. So there's like I love all of that. I love it to death, but I feel like all the good we got was like they took it all away from Ellie.
Yeah.
And it was like, her journey is the most important part.
Right. Yeah.
So that's where I'm so torn.
It's that they're so focused on all the surrounding elements and improving the surrounding elements. They kind of just like Ellie's on a mission of revenge. The audience will get behind her because she's
it'll fall into place.
And it's just like but that's the thing is like everyone's kind of said, like when you're playing the game, you're playing as Ellie. You're the one that's carrying out all these kills, all these murders, so it makes it feel that much more impactful.
Right.
But when you're not playing the game, you have to get that point across somehow. So you have to see her do terrible things. And then on top of it too, like not everybody, but I feel like a lot of people are more biased to Ellie because we were following Joel and Ellie in the first season. So you kind of give her a little bit more slack than you give Abby. We're like, in the game, I'm on Ellie's side even after all of the terrible shit that she does. Like, I'm still Team Ellie. I'll never be Team Abby. I'm ride or die with Ellie. Like, that's, that's gang. But like, it's like you have the kind of like privilege, I guess, of just letting Ellie do more terrible shit just because we're attached to her already.
You are her.
Because we also felt like we were hurt. So also us as the player.
So you get more leeway when you're making Ellie do all this terrible shit, but they were like still afraid to do it, and it's like, and it's not going to be as even.
Kill anybody the entire trip, right?
She killed one dude that she shanks in the neck.
Okay, right at the news station.
One random WLF guy, Nora, and then Mel and Owen. Yeah, and that's it. Where like you have in the game, you have Mel, Owen, Nora. You have the fucking dude that she slashes in the face with the switchblade. Yeah. And then the fucking thousands of WLF soldiers and stuff that you kill along the way.
The lady she surprises that's holding the PS Vita, who's like, tell me where she is. And he has to like, push the knife into her neck and whatnot. And God damn it. And like, again, there's moments like there's this scene in the finale where she says, fuck the community. You know what happened to my community? And she started to break it down. I was like, there it is. There it is.
Yeah, that was the one little moment there. I was like, yeah, there we go. And where's that in?
Her taking into consideration anything felt for me organic, but that should have been day one, and that's it. Be like, after day one, commit to it, and then you have to let us sit with seeing you have to let us see her going deeper to hell. and be like, please,
Right.
just like you have to make that on us to be like, please stop. The whole time I was just like, let's go,
Right.
let's get the bodies,
especially for when you get to the end, which I'm sure we'll talk about later.
Yeah.
The end of the journey in the game.
Yeah.
That's where I kind of hit the point where I was like, Ellie, dude,
it's enough. Just let it
fucking
go.
wrap it up, man. Like,
Yeah.
what are we doing now? Like, this is
Yeah.
this is too much now. But like
And
in
I think
Seattle, I
some
was
people
behind
too,
her.
when we talk about like, oh, where's all the killing? Like in the first season, it was like, oh, having all these infected or whatever out in the world, like that's great for the game, but that doesn't work. And it's like they like everybody like tries to take it to the extreme. I think was like where we were like, oh, we need to see her do some stuff, take some people out. Like we need to see her like fucking Rambo through everybody. No, I don't need her taking out an entire army. I just need to see her take something out.
Yeah.
I need the world to feel like a threat. And like I said in season 1, like I didn't like, it's like once we got after a couple key set points, they forgot the infected existed.
Yeah.
And we're out in the open on our way there. We never really see them. Like it just feels like a afterthought when it happens. And then this, and that's a nitpick in that, because that doesn't
Sure.
matter as much about the story, but the violence is so important to Ellie's journey in this, and everything has either been accidental, self-defense, or unintentional.
Yeah.
And like there's just, and it all kind of happened in like the back half. Like we needed to see at least some people die. Like they had a perfect opportunity, I think, when she went into the hospital. Like
Yes.
she just walks
runs.
into the. She just
Speed runs
walks-
it. She literally speed runs it.
Yeah.
she just fucking ran past everybody. Ran
She
straight to
hides from the
Nora.
pooch, and then she just finds Nora instantly. Like,
It should have been like
Yeah.
a collateral moment where, like, you know, kill her, and he just goes, like, you can't
that could have
stop
been the
this,
John.
Nora!
That could have been the John Wick moment where
Yeah.
she's fucking mowing everybody down to get to Nora.
And
in the
while it is
hospital.
a stealth section in the game,
Yeah.
getting in, but
Sure, yeah,
like, come
but
on.
If we
Like,
were gonna get Hillcrest,
Hey,
that
dude.
would have been the spot. Yeah.
Hey man, there's been times when I've gone to the hospital, I've gotten fucking railed, and I got real unstealthy real quick. But yeah, like it's
Or
it's
the
like,
news station too, because at least in my personal playthrough, it wasn't I stabbed one guy and made it out of the building.
Oh,
my
no,
playthrough was an entire firefight. And I was like, I am running out of ammo.
Yeah.
and there's infected that pop out to it. Like like
Yeah.
it's just like
Fuck, we
that's
gotta go
the
to melee.
thing.
Yeah.
Like part 2
But
is
I need
just
like more
chaotic.
than one dude that she stealth kills before Nora.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
just it is just like a crucial, like I was saying it too when I was like talking to my girlfriend
she's-
why like I was a little disappointed with the finale. I was like, part
Mhm.
2 is disturbingly violent. It's unrelentingly violent.
Yeah.
Like
That's
it
why I've
is
never
just,
replayed it.
I've replayed it 8 times because I'm a sick fuck. But like it's just like it's so violent. It's not even funny. Like it's unbelievable. It just
draining.
goes and goes
Yeah.
and goes. And I told her, I was like, yeah. By the time I finished part 2, I was exhausted because of all the fucking carnage I caused and witnessed and everything. Like it's something that will never
Even in the
leave
game,
you
I
once you
think
play
it was,
the game.
Too much, because I know one of my criticisms
It is a
of the
little
game,
too
I was like, I
much.
felt like some of the set pieces went on for too long,
Yeah.
and I was like, I'm done with this section. Can I move on to the next one? Like it's just like
Right.
another wave of people.
Yeah.
Come
Well, with
on,
Hillcrest, I felt that. Yeah, especially when you're like, okay, I gotta get through the hill. Like,
Mhm.
come on, like
Or the
to me, I
section
like.
with the snipers and the
Yes.
tanks. I was like,
Yeah.
what is happening here?
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
like I get it. Like game had a little too much of that, but the show we don't have nothing.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You just didn't have to cut all of it away. Like that's kind of the way I felt too. I was like, it's just the give and take again. It's like they give you a little bit, but then they take it all
Yeah.
away, and then they give you a little bit, and they take it all away. I don't fully understand it because, like, same thing. Like you get to see Bella
Yeah.
be dark every now and then, so like they're capable of taking Ellie there, but they never got the opportunity to fully take Ellie there, and it's just a little disappointing. And I think that could ultimately affect where we go at the end of the story.
Yeah, oh man, and again, I feel like that's even more of a big burden now that's going to season 3. It's like I know what I'm gonna have to deal with, and I've told you guys jokingly, I'm gonna have to like start drinking every Sunday just to get through season 3. But now it's just like, oh, now I have to hope that maybe they do violence more in this one. But now I hope it doesn't come off as reactionary. Like
Yeah.
I don't like it when people do that as a reactionary thing. It's just like
And-
fuck people need to stop violence. But I was like, no,
And
that's
to be fair,
that's a
I
get-go.
feel like Ellie's part is way more violent and mean than Abby's part.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
a lot more personal. Abby's part is more just the war of like the
Another
wolves
Tuesday.
and the
Yeah.
Seraphites, and obviously they're both fucked up, so you see a lot of gross, just
Yeah.
bad shit.
And hers
But,
is
like-
about understanding her mistakes and empathizing with the
Yeah.
enemy. It's like
Yeah.
while Ellie's is losing that humanity, so
Yeah,
they
like-
complement each other so that
Mhm.
it accents Ellie's second part when you
Yeah.
finally
Right.
go back to her, where
Mhm.
she's still kind of continuing on, and
Yeah.
then there's the lack of whatever by the end of it all. But like you don't really get that without the Abby bit. So like if they overcorrect with the Abby section, it's like I don't know if that's gonna I don't know if that's gonna be the other side of the coin that balances what we just got. I mean,
Yeah.
honestly, there's nothing that needs balanced at this point. I don't feel like there's anything to balance. So
Yeah, because I mean, like that's kind of the whole point too. Is like Abby. I mean, we're going like full spoilers into the game and stuff.
Yeah,
No.
I'll say this now. Like, yeah, folks. You know, we dug it, but there's stuff that could have been better one now. But yeah, folks, proceed with caution now. We haven't played the game because we have to. That's inevitable.
Yeah. So like to kind of echo what Omni was saying, like that's what makes Abby sparing Ellie at the theater impactful, because it's like she's like, you know what, like yeah, like I killed Joel for reasons that are just to me. Ellie came and murdered all of my friends pretty much, but I'm gonna kind of let it slide. I got Jesse, but like I'm gonna kind of let it slide instead of murdering everybody. I'm gonna move on, choose to just move on with my life and kind of forget about it as much as I can. And then you cut to Ellie, and she just can't. She just can't move on. She can't get
It's an
past
addiction.
it. It's an addiction, yeah. And it's like, I don't know, like
literally causes her PTSD.
yeah. So it's like the only kind of thing that they did, and again, it kind of goes to that kind of Seraphite scene I'm not crazy about, is like, yeah, she had a near-death experience and she chose to keep going to Abby instead of going back, but like that's not super, like, I don't know, like it just doesn't hit like everything in the game does. Like it's just not enough. Like it hasn't been enough yet. So like when she chooses to go back out there when we do Santa Barbara eventually, it's gonna be like, okay, like she's going back out there again, but you don't have all the baggage of days 1, 2, and 3 in the
Right.
theater.
The
to kind of
mileage.
go back on.
There's
the
not like
mileage.
there's not like the sunk cost of it all at this point. There's not like
Right.
Yeah.
her tunnel vision hasn't been accentuated enough. Right now,
No.
it just feels like a fun little adventure with her and Dina, where it just kind of comes up every now and then about whether or not we should keep moving forward.
Yeah.
Like even in the
Mhm.
conversation about, you know, after she found out about Dina, which again they kind of they changed.
Yeah.
Because it was like very different had she invited her along, had she known at any point. So like having Dina find out on the journey kind of gives you a little bit of an out with that versus in the game where she
Yeah.
knowingly goes out pregnant,
Mm-hmm.
which is why Ellie has a valid reaction, I think, in the game
Yeah.
to learning that information. So you knew and you still came.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So like the show gives Ellie so many outs and stuff like that too, because even after all of that, Dina shares her backstory and she's like, it's your choice, but everything Dina said is encouragement to keep going.
Yeah.
So then it's just like, at what point does this become Ellie's fault? Until later.
Yeah.
It's not until, because it's not really until, I think, until she chooses not to go help Tommy is the first time she actually makes a conscious decision.
Yeah.
But they even like with the hospital when they were like, all right, well, shit, we almost died. If Jesse wasn't here, that would have been the end for us. And then that's also a turn back point, but that just also leads you to Tommy.
Yes.
It's just like every time there's a shiny red ball is what I called it. Every time she gets distracted, is like if it's not in front of her in the show, she's imagining it. Like she wants it to be real, but she's not really. It's not this drive that is burning in her soul like it is in the game.
Yeah, Ellie
Right.
only has one
So,
thing
like-
on her mind in the game.
Yeah.
Nothing else.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then like, because like, okay, they were in that moment, then they were in the park, and then she looks up and she sees the lights from the hospital. Like, I think she would have went with Jesse, did what they needed to do, and left, but then she saw the hospital. It's just like, it has to be in her sight. Otherwise, it feels like she doesn't really care as much as she puts on.
Yeah.
Because then it's all fine and dandy with Tommy, and then she's like, wheel well there, and then it's like shiny red ball.
Basic
Again.
math. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, folks, I'll say this: there are observations that we feel could have been stronger. I want to bounce it out by saying this: that there are gems in this season. Make no mistake about that.
Yeah.
And I want us to go down the line, starting with Ami. Ami, give me an episode. Give me an episode that you're like, man, I have thoughts, but they did good on this episode, and I'll take it to the bank. What's the episode he picked? Dos, yeah,
So 2.
yeah.
The whole
That
thing
is,
with Jackson and Joel and all of that.
yeah.
That was such a good episode. I think again, like all the changes helped make things better.
yes.
It made the world feel more larger because it's not just locked into our characters, so we get to see what's going on with Jackson during the horde, because it was something they brought up. We affecting in the surrounding. We don't know how many there are or whatever. And then when they're out there, you see them get almost completely overwhelmed, and you're like, did that ever hit Jackson? That didn't even cross my mind. Was Jackson okay? What happened there? It was like, obviously that would have hit Jackson, and getting to see that and then what happened there was so much fun. And just the emotional payoff throughout that. Like, I only really had one critique about that episode, really, and it was just I didn't need Abby over explaining her motivation there.
Yeah.
Oh, the
But that's
monologue.
it.
Yeah.
Other than that, the scene was really good, and she killed it. Literally. Hole in one might say.
Yeah.
Man. Oh, God.
But
damn.
yeah, like that's another overall critique for the season. I felt like so much got a little over explained. There was a lot of narrative hand holding, but I think like episode 2, I think, was the best overall episode for me.
Yeah, and also kudos to what Pedro. First of all, kudos to Kaitlyn, what she had to like put up, and like I don't want to. It's not my place to say what she's been through, but let's just say that during the production of this season, she went through something very personal. And when I found that out, I went, "Fuck!" I feel bad. Like, hey, maybe they should have paused
first
it.
thing they shot too, I think, right?
Yep. So shout out to Kaitlyn for having the cojones and the guts to move forward. And like, I don't even want to ask her one day, but I almost afraid to be like, did you use some of that for that scene? I can only like feel like she probably did. Like, yeah, she experienced some tragedy in real life. And listen, I'll give a shout out to her because when she was cast, I know, again, it's ironic from the game. Where's the muscles? Where's the ox? Where the fuck? It's like, no. You got to get this. This is what pissed me off. Playing her is that what was going on in here. But shout out to her. And also, I mean, Pedro, man. It was weird because I had just woken up and I was like, oh shit, okay, we got to watch it now. But hearing him off screen, like wailing and like screaming, that just kills me to this point. And I think, all of us cried, but like to me, what was the last like the nail in the coffin for me was two things. It was once the overall shot of Ellie and Joe, and you just start hearing Ashley sing, and I'm like, you fuckers really want to get like shorts and clips out of this, don't you? God damn it! Yep. So it was that incorporation that I thought was poetic, and it was just the dragging of the body and through the snow with the bag and all. That was just like
and that music, like that song, chills.
I commit to that. And again, also shout out to Gabriel Luna because we got more layers with Tommy, and I think
the whole sequence is brilliant.
Jeffrey Pierce would be proud. I think of what they chose to do with Tommy in that one. If you have any thoughts of the episode, tell me not. If not, Darren, Give me an episode. What was the vibe for you? What was the episode?
There's one I have in mind that I would like to say, but I think it has to be episode. What is it? Episode 6. I do think, and I know that's going to be almost everybody's answer, but I do choose episode 6. And I told you about this, Ronan. My mom never played the games. Obviously, she's never watched the show, and I just put this episode on in the front room because I was like, I think this shouldn't have too much stuff in it, And she sat down and watched it with me. Never played the games, doesn't know anything, and it was a weird experience watching her talk about this story through the lens of just this episode of a girl and her father, and how she's mourning through, or how she's dealing through puberty and growing up and dealing with loss. And I saw her tear up a little bit in that in the space scene, that's recreated. And obviously that's a very special scene to us, but even someone who doesn't know the backstory and knows what is happening, and she doesn't exactly know that Joel dies. I think she could kind of piece it together, but she doesn't even necessarily know that. So seeing it from that perspective, I was like, this is just a nice little, I feel like you can kind of just watch this and kind of have your own isolated journey. And I feel like it almost made me appreciate the story of Ellie and Joel even more so after that. And it is just such an emotional roller coaster of an episode that was. And just I think we all kind of needed that episode to fully mourn Joel. I think up until that point, it didn't again, we've processed it for years now, but I think show Joel, it hadn't really hit. And I do think that was the moment of okay, he's dead. And I think I can have peace with that. And I think I can move forward to an extent, going into season 3 and going into season 4. And if everyone goes through theirs, I have another episode I'd like to say once everyone goes through all the ones they want to talk about.
Okay. You took mine. Damn it, Darren.
I figured it would be most people's.
Yeah, I get it. Before we, because I want to spend time with that, because I think that one is special as well.
Yeah.
Gianni, do you have an episode?
That's my episode too. I was gonna say, I think
I figured.
I think episode 2 is the best episode of the season, and maybe even the whole show. But my favorite episode of the season, and probably the whole show, is episode 6, because it's got the museum, which is my favorite level in any video game I've ever played. I was basically crying the entire time I was playing that, happy tears and sad tears. And they just nailed it. I mean, I don't, like I said, the only thing I want to see was the hat on the dinosaurs. That's all I was missing. But they
shot it, man. I'm telling you,
they shot it, which fucking pisses me off a little bit, but it's okay. It's all right, Neil. I'm only a lot pissed at you. But I love Ellie climbing the dinosaur, the whole space shuttle scene. I was crying. I was still crying. And even though I was watching my girlfriend and they're going to space, she was even like, wow. When she just closes her eyes and she gets there. I mean, and just seeing their relationship hit its peak and then slowly start to deteriorate over the years is heartbreaking.
Yeah.
And then, so you get my favorite level in the whole franchise, and then you get my favorite scene in the whole franchise with the porch scene at the end, which crazy that we got it now. But man, did they knock it out of the park. This episode solidified Pedro as Joel for me. He's never felt more like Joel in the entire show.
Yeah.
And for it to be his goodbye, to kind of be maybe the last thing we remember him for, it just fucking hit like crack. It was insane. It was, I kept saying it too when I was rewatching. I was like, this is so mean. This is such a mean episode. It's beautiful, but it's so fucking mean, because it just you see the good times, the bad times, and then the hope that they could go back to the good times, and then getting it ripped away. And like we said, even though it's a little bit more, it's not as subtle as the one in the game where you just have Joel telling Ellie that he loves her and everything, but that literally makes me ugly cry every time he says that.
Oh, how dare you bring that part out. Oh, God.
I mean, I think that scene alone is the best work that Pedro did in the entire show. He did it with facial acting. He did it when he actually had to talk. He just did, the body language, everything, his eyes, he fucking destroyed that scene. Like, if he
And how
doesn't
he-
get an award just for that scene alone, I don't fucking know what to do, because that's literally some of the best acting I've ever seen in my
Yeah,
life. That
like-
one scene, he fucking annihilated it. And
Him-
having it all wrap back around to Tony Dalton having an amazing cameo
Yeah.
as his dad,
dude.
putting a little bow on it at the end. Yeah, my guy fucking Lalo pops up. Like, dude, like it's
Yeah.
just like
The whole-
man.
The whole Miller
Oh.
family's in Marvel now.
Yeah. It's crazy.
We just
I didn't
need
even think about
they
that,
cast
yeah.
the actor for Sarah, and we got a complete set.
Yeah. There you go. I mean, it's just it just gave me everything I could have wanted from like a flashback Joel episode.
Yeah.
It just, and again, the
Yeah.
changes they made, like how Ellie finds out, makes more sense this way. I think the writing of all that was great. The stuff with Eugene and Gail, like, everything, like you get to see like his probable last conversation with Tommy. Like
Yeah.
it just gave me everything I needed it to give me, and then some. Because like Neil, like I was really scared to see the porch scene. Like even though the museum's my favorite level in the whole franchise, that the porch scene is like, and Neil said too, like that's the scene. That's the scene you have to nail, otherwise it kind of fucks the entire. That's a make or break scene. Like that'll fuck the entire season if it doesn't hit the way it needs to. And my God, it hit. It hit
The
so
nodding.
hard.
The
See,
nodding. I was just like,
See, I love it
Yeah.
on an island as a episode itself. Like you said, like its own.
Yeah.
It's an isolated experience that kind of gives you a nice, concise, truncated version of their relationship.
Mhm.
How much they were able to salvage, even though she had her doubts at the end of last season. You know, how much that was there, and they were able to get around that for so long, and then how that festered and then came out in all these different ways until it just started to erode the relationship over time. If we didn't go to Salt Lake City, like we mentioned, that being what it did, like taking Eugene and using him as a vehicle for that and a substitute for that, I think that worked out really well. I'm still like a little mixed on the porch scene, because I think the execution was amazing, but it also kind of takes away from its punch from when it actually comes in the game.
yeah, which I think
Because it
I think
buttons
someone-
in, it's that last. Oh, here you go. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's that last
n-
like
Knife up
twist of the
asshole.
knife.
Yep.
But I do wonder if like how they're actually going to end it now, right? Like if that
Yeah.
is the like punch of this, I wonder if they're like, hey, we have something in mind that we want to do that. It could work better. It could work worse. So
Teaser
I-
for part 3.
Ronan had a
hell
great theory
yeah.
about it.
I have a great theory, but I'm scared. I probably shouldn't share it, especially with Darren. Like I want to just say that like, fuck, how do I phrase it? Like just say the way they ended season 1 was very much like the game, and then season 2 opening scene did something that I didn't expect them to do, and I was like,
Yeah.
whoa! And so that mechanism, that the way that they chose to do that for that ending of a scene for the first season. Let's just say that my gut feeling is saying that like they'll probably do something like that again in the family. And yeah, I had someone who had watched it with that episode the first time, and they were like, "Yeah, I like this episode. It's sweet, but it feels like a season finale or a series finale. It doesn't feel like a penultimate. It should be a penultimate episode."
Yeah.
I think like what I'm saying, it was a good bottle episode or not. And to me, I get it. They didn't want to make people wait years to wait for this, especially now that the fucking game is out and people are apparently now are buying part 2 now, and it's just like they're not gonna wait.
The remaster just came back out on PC a couple weeks ago.
Yep.
The week before season 2 started.
Yeah. So they probably were like, yeah, people don't want to play the game, buy the game again. But
Which I did.
Yeah. There you go. I did remaster it, and I was like, I'm done. I'm not doing this fucking Lord of the Rings, Star Wars re-release shit again. Like, I'm done. Like, give me part 3.
Got
If not,
every version of the first game.
God bless you.
PS
Man.
all the way back to.
I do too. Yeah, I do too.
All the
actually,
way back
yeah.
to PS3.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, with this
It's
episode.
no Skyrim.
Listen, this episode, like Johnny hinted at, like the opening, I was like, holy fuck, this is what I'm talking about. I'm like not knowing. I was telling again, we were telling our friend that non-gamer in our group who we watched it, we're like, we don't know what's happening. We're just as cold as you are right now. I don't know what the fuck's gonna go on. And you hear lines like, I don't think I could forgive you for this, but I'd like to try. Or, I would do it all over again. And that's already iconic, and that's cemented into the zeitgeist in your connection to this franchise and these characters. Yep. Now the words, I hope you do a little better than me. Like now that is now so just good. As ingrained, and it's sad. And I felt like, oh my gosh, please don't make Joel say that. And like again, talking about nuance with what Pedro was doing in this scene, I told you guys, like I felt that as soon as he said that line, it was him being like, fuck, I made the same mistake my dad did. In a way, I think he was forgiving his dad. I think that was his way of saying, I forgive you for what you did. Like I know why you did. In his
defense, had the apocalypse not happened, he was doing substantially better than his dad.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, that is true. He was.
He was like, yes, I feel like we did it. And then boom.
But then again, even with this episode
came up from the other side of the net like they were playing volleyball. He was like, yeah, we got this. And somebody just spiked him right in the face.
Yeah.
I'm like, no, get down.
And I love what this episode does with like the birthdays of it all.
Oh,
I know it's really cheesy, but like I like that the whole thing with Sarah was like, well, that was Joel's birthday, and birthday seemed very special to Sarah, and he forgot the birthday cake. So every year he makes sure he brings in that cake because that's what he forgot with Sarah.
I didn't even put that together.
And it's like, man, he's like I kind of think he blames himself in a way. Like he's like, okay, I messed that up there. I think he associates messing up with birthdays in some weird way. So it's like, I gotta make this right. I gotta make it special every single year, and then I can't mess this up because I fixed it right, and like somewhere in his mind. And still, it doesn't work out in his favor. Not because of anything he does well, I guess kind of it is, but like it's just kind of human nature how things have evolved in this
It's also so fascinating that he would fixate on that too, because at the end of the day, not having that cake is what saved them both.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
Otherwise, they would have all turned.
Mm-hmm.
That's true.
Yeah, I mean, and also, I have been waiting for this scene. I was just like, God, they're gonna do that because it's different and yet the same. It's not, the scene that they originally did in the One Night Live performance that they did in the game. And yet I love that we spent time with him making the guitar himself, which that guitar has more weight.
You could buy it for $2,800.
Fuck me, yeah. I see those prices and I'm like, come on, man.
From the
it made me like my tattoo more. I was like, it added a little bit more significance to the guitar. I was like, it made me enjoy it more.
Come on, what was it? Fender, the guitar company went out. I'm like, come on now.
No, I can't remember who it was though, but the actual guitar company made it.
Yeah. So come on now, like go easy with that. Like we're not fucking millionaires here. God damn it.
Technically, if I remember right, I think it's only a couple hundred more than just their bass guitars. Like it's not even that much more expensive.
The last that was approved. $100 more right there. But yeah, and to me that episode also it was so fascinating because I'm like, oh shit, this is the year that Joel didn't get to learn how to be a dad, and now he has to learn it in the apocalypse with another daughter. And even so all the teenage shit all at once and him blowing up. I remember being like doesn't shock me. He's from Texas, 80s. Doesn't shock me he would act that way. I appreciate that he didn't go full out, fucking red Christian, the whole shebang. I was like, no. It was just a shock.
Not my daughter.
It wasn't that. It was just like, oh fuck. Okay.
But that was funny because that goes back to the previous year or whatever, or one of the previous years when they were going to the museum or whatever, where he was like, "No, I see these things. You really don't."
Yeah.
I do really actually appreciate that scene because it's like I feel like obviously like queer representation is always very special in any way, and I think Last of Us has done a fantastic job in that department. But also I think it's good to represent to also parents, not necessarily say a lot of parents are watching it, but like it's also I think a good way to show how to improve yourself. Like, he starts off being like, not the greatest course of action you should probably go as a parent, but also showing that, like, okay, you like that first reaction is very hard. How did he improve himself going forward? How did he realize what he said, and how that was probably very hurtful, and improve on it? Because I think that's very normal, unfortunately. Like, those first reactions are tough on a lot of parents, is showing, okay, it's okay to fuck up at first, but make up for it. Prove that you are on their side. Like, I thought that was very beautiful.
Which I think also shout out to Bella, and I noticed it from the corner of my eye, like when he says, "Look, I don't know what Dina was trying to do, but I do know she'd be lucky to have you." I could tell Bella was tearing up on the side, be like, "Oh fuck, he doesn't care about that's not a big deal." But then her defense mechanism is like, "You're such an asshole." It's like, it's just like the game. Like I remember seeing Ashley turn away and be like, "God damn it, I fucking hate what you did, but I love you, man." Like, and it's just shout out to how much of that. Again, the show is so good that when it comes back and calls to stuff, that it hurts when they don't, and it's just like the setup was right there, but you did in this occasion. And again, even the subtle hints in season 1 of like, you know what's a great astronaut name? Sally fucking Ryan. And then you get to this scene. And like, I was like, holy fuck, they built that, or they found some place. And it was the line of like, it still works, huh? Someone must have old it. And it's just like, God damn it, you dad. And to me, I don't think we got in the game, but seeing him, this cut to him crying, I think he was just like, I can never, there's not enough money in the world to like take this away from me. He was so happy and proud. I'm like, okay, I remember, man, this line. In season 1, he kept saying, "I'm failing, even in my sleep, in my dreams, I'm failing." This is the moment I was like, I'm not failing. Like I did good this time, and I was just like, God damn it, Pedro, thanks so much for that. And it says, kudos to Neil, man. Kudos to Neil, what he did with the direction of this episode. What him and Hallie co-wrote with Craig in this one, and Joey Pants. Fucking, man. I remember him saying like, he's acting like a child. Her last, my last words. I need her last words. For me. I'm dying, and
my immediate thought was like, I get that. I think anybody else would want that in their final moments, like if they could. But then it's also the neglect of, well, what about her last memory is going to be of you being killed, in front of her, or whatever, or dragged away. Dude, and being put down.
I told
maybe he became too overwhelming in the moment, or whatever. Who knows? Or just having somebody infected in the walls itself is also just kind of. Well, they talked about bringing her outside, but either way, dude, I get it. It just sucks.
I think I told this to Johnny that I think it might have been up in the air whether Joe would have killed him or not. But I think Johnny brought it up. It wasn't until he mentioned that, like, oh man, I didn't know cordyceps made you feel so cold. And I feel that was a moment where like Joe was just like, God damn it, turn right. And it was just like, all right, I'm not letting you live. It's already turning already. So I like those subtle details in there and whatnot.
And I think episode 2 makes that hit harder because we've seen the consequences of what happens when they get in. We see how many people can die. We see the damage that they can cause. And Joe wasn't there during that fight. It's like, like it kind of, I don't know. I think it hits harder now seeing the consequences of what it can do.
And also it hits hard now, our connection with Jackson, because the whole time while he's at gunpoint, what is he doing? He's looking back at Jackson. He's looking at the city, at the people, at Ellie, at Tommy. Just like, fuck, man. So fucking good.
That's another thing too. There was a lot of desperation because he was thinking about Jackson, knowing that was heading towards Jackson. So he wasn't. That was the priority, which also gives him more motivation to be desperate. Which goes back to what I was talking about before about it makes it a little more easier to understand him getting in this situation.
I appreciate that they must have read some thoughts of like, what the fuck, Joe saved her, and him saying it, I saved you. She says, what life? And again, I understand your critique about her monologue and her reason, but I'm so happy they didn't cut this line, which is, shut the fuck up and do it already. I was just
Because it's just
Go
like,
down swinging, man.
Because the only thing she really says to him after that is like, you don't get to make this quick or whatever.
Yeah.
And they don't really have that exchange. And Joel doesn't, it's never explicitly said to Joel why she's even there, but I think Joel just knows.
Instinct.
And it doesn't even matter because by that point, he's wronged so many people. It's kind of just an expectation one day somebody's going to come.
Karma.
He doesn't really need to know who it's going to be, but it's probably something he's always knew was looming around sometime or that it had to be. So he's just like, here it is. Do it. I don't need your speech. I don't need your sympathy. It goes back to him on the porch too, because he's like, I'd do it again. I don't care about y'all in the way that I care about her. So your lives, your father, it don't matter to me. She's alive.
Yeah, that's where I feel people who watch this and hear our thoughts is that we can acknowledge that the game is more subtle, that there's more nuance to it. And it leaves it up to interpretation.
I don't think you find out why Abby did it until you're playing as Abby, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like, that's why I appreciate the show's adaptation of even the porch scene, which I understand people having issues with it, but like him finally saying I love you, like, oh, I was like, God damn it. Like, it makes sense as this Joel would say it. If he's wanted to tell her about his one day he almost chose to like just finish stuff off, it makes sense he would finally be like, this is the last quote unquote silver bullet I have, like, to tell her like why I did what I did. And if she's never heard of that before, I'm gonna say it now, which then makes the moment when Tina tells her, that's one of the things I love about you. She's like, you love me? It's like, that's the weight now of saying that word that doesn't get really probably said in Ellie's life.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what, I mean, I'll put it to you this way, Darren, there's a take from a sequence in that scene in the game that they chose not to put in the game, and they chose an alternative, which is what we all know how that scene ends. And that this is another scenario of like, he doesn't say I love you in the game, but the essence of saying I would do it all over again is him saying that. So I understand people being like, I prefer nuance or subtlety. To me, which is why to me this adaptation is the best of both worlds. I can get the nuance and subtlety in the game if I want to, or I fucking need someone to say it or get, show
that's one
that.
of those moments where I'm just like, well, they're spelling it all out there. I forgive that in the porch scene because I feel like in that moment, hearing it is so much more powerful to a person. Like if somebody's dancing around and avoiding saying the words, or they express it in another way, like you can kind of know that, but it's not going to open you up in a way than it is to hear it from their lips. So that's one of the few times like I could kind of overlook them being like, I'd do it again. I love you. Like saying things, because I think it's really important for Ellie to hear it more than it is the viewer for that scene.
Yeah.
So like, so like I never had that problem with any of the exchange on the porch scene. I think they really knocked it out of the park in delivering it. I'm just so mixed because I love the episode again, like I said, on an island by itself because it works as its own little short film. But like personally, I still wish we would have got the flashbacks interspersed through Ellie's journey because it only helps the viewer on a rewatch, I think, for certain moments. Because there's flashbacks that are being referenced throughout the trip that you don't have context for, and I feel like that deprives those moments unless you go back to those moments of the impact.
Yeah,
like you'll see that, and hopefully you remember it when you get to that episode. But like Ellie, unlike the game, not finishing the lyric in the theater when she's playing the guitar, when she's doesn't say the second line. You don't know what the fuck that was about or how important that was until episode 6.
Yeah.
Right.
Or so like there's just little things like that I was just like, oh damn it, I kind of wish that would have been like right there. So because I knew, and I was getting choked up on that because I knew what the end of that was supposed to be. But if like somebody hadn't watched it or played it or anything like that, like I'm just like, okay, well, I don't know how that'll play in the end. Hopefully fine, but I wasn't sure. I still don't know. I haven't really heard people talk about it all that much. But also, I think it would have helped people with the transition, with the loss of Joel too, is to have him a little bit each episode
here and there.
Because you're also after episode 2 hoping they stay till episode 6, because just like with the game, there's so many people that were coming in for more Joel and we're upset when we don't get more Joel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now there's just viewership wise, from what I've seen too, is just like, there's going to be, I'm sure there's a lot of people that aren't going to take the bait to continue on the journey because they were also here for Joel. So that's the big ask with the game is like, the game, you already have the game, you have the full story. You don't have to wait for 2 years to a week to whatever. You can just like,
I need to know.
yeah. So like the answers are just around the corner or whatever. So like there's a little bit easier of a, plus you've already spent like 60-70 bucks on it. So the buy is kind of already there for an audience to wait another week to get this, or wait a couple more weeks to understand the reasoning or whatever, which is probably why I think they did the Abby thing that they did, is have her explain her side of it, I guess, in the way that they did, to try to, I think a lot of the choices they made were probably to try to make it easier for first time watchers to kind of go along on this.
They were kind of trying to hold your hand with the show more, where with the game they were just throwing,
which was
into
why
the fucking fire.
Figure it out.
Yeah.
So you don't have to wait for that. Well, why does she do that? Like in the hope that you might be more inclined to stick around.
Right.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
And the opening
a bit of a give and take again, like we said.
Yeah, season 2 opener has Abby in the graveyard, and I think that already tell you enough, which is way more than what we got in the game. I was like, okay, she lost someone close, and that's why she deliberately says, "I'm gonna go kill him." I was like, oh fuck, okay, she's gonna kill Joel. Okay, she's got baggage. We know that. But yeah, what were we gonna say, Darren?
I mean, just to like agree on that statement, like I can also definitely understand from just like a shareholder view and just like from a company being afraid of like making her unlikable, even though that is the point of the game. You're all very correct with that, but also I can also understand the take where it's like when you're playing the game, you are Ellie. Like that is you. That is you. You're not going to blame yourself for doing these actions. But when you're watching the show, it's like you are watching someone do all these terrible things. So I can understand them being like, hey guys, let's lighten her up. Let's make her more fun. Even if that does contrast the story a little bit. And, just to circle back to like what you guys were saying earlier, I also agree, like, how are you going to handle Abby? Because if you make Abby more violent than Ellie, then there's already going to be, you're obviously going to now side with Ellie, without any trouble. And I think the joy of The Last of Us Part 2, from the most of it I played, is like they both kind of suck, but you got to choose a side, and it's about perspective. It's about viewing these various things from whatever perspective. Because I've talked about this last couple of weeks, but it's like if you are watching Abby as a bystander, you're like, this girl is terrible, she's a horrible human being, like and it's the same thing that you went with through with like Walking Dead. It's like Rick Grimes sucked for like the back half of that show. He was a horrible person, but you loved him because you were watching him. He was your focus point character. I think that's fascinating, to switch the narrative and be like, hey, now you got to play as the person that you freaking hate. Like, I think that's awesome.
I don't know, man. When he burned those people alive, I was like, I don't know, Rick.
I don't know about this one. Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah. Oh no. For sure. Yeah.
But yeah, I get the point. But like that's another thing I kind of want to come back to is like the buy-in for Abby, because even in the game, like that's a huge ask. But it's part of the experience, because the game itself is it's not a fucking game. It's an experience.
Right.
It is not fun. It is not. It is at times, but like the overall thing isn't. It's not for your entertainment. Right, it is there as a like something to actually challenge you. And like ending this in this way where you got to buy in. You got to get the general audience to buy in post Joel. Then you have to get them to walk on the journey with Abby. I do feel like I understand the temptation that they went with.
Yeah.
To give you an insight of what is next, the rewind to day one through Abby's perspective. Because I've seen some people be like, oh, wait, is that where we're starting? I don't give a shit about this bitch. Like you're asking people to wait 2 years now, knowing they're going to start here may turn people off. So I'm kind of surprised. As annoying as it would be, I feel like strategically they should have probably ended at the cut to black, so that you're coming back for Ellie, and then they trap you with the Abby thing.
You're right.
Like, oh hell no! You know,
that's
because now they know for 2 years that Abby's where we're going. We're waiting 2 years for Abby, not 2 years for Ellie.
Yeah. And then that's another season break, and then another 2 years. So we're looking at 3 to maybe 4 years until we get back to Ellie, and like that is like, even to me, I'm like, oh, that's a lot. That's a lot.
I was under the understanding that they shot these back to back, and apparently that wasn't the case.
No, I wish they could have. And I hope TV does that more going forward in this kind of era of just like these long breaks.
Somebody made this point when I was on Crossing the Streams the other day. We got confirmation Naughty Dog's working on a second undisclosed game alongside Intergalactic, and 4 years is enough time to develop a game.
It is.
Could it be part 3?
Yeah.
Because Neil, we talked about this last time, was like, he's been so wishy-washy on it, because in the behind the scenes for part 2, he's like, I got a story. And then before season 2 came out, he was like,
done.
nah, I'm done. See, part 2 is where it ends. And then again, 2 weeks ago, he was like, we're back for part 3. And then this magic game shows up on their listing. If it's anything other than that, I think people are going to be really frustrated. But it just like, I feel like they would have to. Like, because then it's just like, okay, well then you buy in, and maybe it'll come out around that point, and that'll give you an idea of where the story will go, and then boom, season 5 announcement. Boom, boom. Because if it just end and then the show's over, and then you have to wait like 4 or 5 years to do a season 5 or whatever, it'd be a little weird. So hopefully they can synergize and sync that up, and it'll give us enough time to get into that. Because I get it. Like, you could end with part 2, but it just feels like there's so much more to that.
Yes.
And this is a huge world, and like I'd even be open to like, and fans probably be so pissed at this, but like a spin-off of sorts that's maybe not necessarily connected to a game. It's just new characters elsewhere, or elsewhere.
Get him out of the stream. Eject. Get him out.
All right, guys. That was nice.
Darren, I'll tell you this. I'll give you this, Darren. I'd be open to it.
Yeah.
After you finish Ellie and Joel's story. Once
it's like
once I'm at peace. Once I'm like once we do the Logan like twist of the that. Once we do that, I'm good, and then we can spend time in the other world later on, because I feel like, to me, when they announced Intergalactic, I'm like, you know what? Part 2 was such a grind, and I like Ani was saying, go watch the documentary. You could tell like crunch was never the same after part 2, and they said they were fixing their pipeline in that studio. So doing Intergalactic afterwards made sense. Take a break from Last of Us, hone in on something else, and see if it works, and if people want to see more.
The Last was multiplayer game that fell through.
And
all that time developing.
That would have been cool. Yeah.
Which and again, like, I think if they do I know, dude, Sam.
Sam was done with these like offshoot random multiplayer only games. I don't know why they get this cash cow, because there's a couple of big hitters, but like we've seen like 8 like fail in the last 2 years. And some like you didn't even hear of until they launched, like Concord. I didn't know that existed. It was out for a week, and then the servers were gone.
Yep. Fucking Sam has been waiting for factions, and I just told him, hey man, I'm sorry, man. He's like, don't fucking talk to me, man.
Yeah, I was like, there's no way that's coming to light.
That was one of the most heartbreaking fucking things ever. Oh my god, I love factions in the first game, and I was like, dude, with this gameplay, I need it, and then
with this one,
oh god, bro.
It's and they've already said it.
Be a new Crash Bandicoot.
Bro, I actually cry.
Nathan Drake is back.
I was gonna say the only acceptable thing would be an Uncharted sequel. That would be the only thing where I'd be like, okay, I'm still
that'd be
pissed.
the only. Like, if hell, I'd be fine if it was actually just the daughter.
Yeah, which
or
Endeavor
Sully
is.
and Sam, like Sully
Yeah.
or Sam, Nate's daughter, or somehow Nate
Yeah,
returning.
the only thing I'd be happy waiting, like with this uncertainty, would be another Uncharted game.
Yeah,
Even though
Yeah.
they've
you have to go back to
been
one and
just
two.
as adamant about that also being done.
Yeah.
Well, they've been very consistent about that franchise, at least.
Yeah,
Neil's been so back and forth and coy. And I think that's only because the show's been going on, so it's a solid, steady answer. I don't know, might
And they've told
move
themselves, we're
thing
not
one
doing
to
the Game
another.
of Thrones thing. We're not gonna go past the source material.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, well, then
get more
finish
source
the source material.
Yeah.
like don't do Winds of Winter. Please don't do that. Like I don't need that in
Yeah.
my life now. Like and the whole thing of like ending it right there with I almost said it, I shouldn't say it, but yeah, the way they ended, I'm like, no man, there's one more thing, one more. And then I could say goodbye to it, just like I did with Uncharted.
Mhm.
But yeah, you know what? I think I want to say this. My favorite character, I loved what Pedro and what Bella did for season 2. But and we said early on, Isabella came in swinging,
Yeah.
y'all. She's probably my favorite character of the season, and I was so intrigued to see where her journey was going to go and how much, I could believe it. She fucking loves this girl, and as someone who loves the Millers, I appreciate that someone loves Ellie Liz and who won't like mess with her and will actually go to like she said right there. I will go to hell and back. If you want to do this, I will go with you hell and back, and let's do this. And like, it's not in one of our favorite episodes, but like to me, what solidified their connection, their bond, was that they did the take on me scene,
Yeah.
and they did the
Yep.
full
Yeah.
sure. It was freaky how close to the game it was.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Like just
They nailed
wow.
that too.
Bella sounded
guys-
great.
Oh
Yeah.
man,
Yeah.
so great. I got fucking copyrighted in my reaction because you playing Bella Ramsey singing "Take on Me" is like, god fucking damn it, man. But yeah, what about you guys? Do you have a favorite like character you liked in season 2 following? I'm pretty sure Johnny. I know Johnny's like appreciates what they did with a certain character, but I'm curious to see where y'all stand with season 2.
I mean, I think it has to be Shimmer. I think Shimmer was obviously the best
Ooh,
character.
He
in the
lives!
season.
Lives.
MVP.
My
Yeah.
boy lives, man.
For now.
Your take
assuming
on
they
me,
didn't-
and that's it. He's just chilling there, dude.
Yeah.
He's waiting.
Assuming
I mean,
they remember to go back.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that line of Jesse. I'm like, Shimmer's
That's what you
fine.
asked.
Nothing you asked. Yeah, it's just like, god damn it.
I mean, shout out to Tommy this season, like especially like he went from a character that I liked to a character I loved, and I
Mhm.
think every improvement that they've done with him has just been such good choices. And I'm really hoping season 3 kind of has something in there for him. Like I pitched over my thing of like each season has had like a flashback episode. Maybe next season's a Tommy episode. Like that would be really cool to dive into. I think that's like you mentioned it earlier, Omni, about like not having, I think it was you, like not having him there was such a good choice.
Mhm.
And like we haven't fully dived into it yet, but I do love the idea that like he had to make that choice of go after my brother or protect my people. And like I bet that's burdening him of like, if I was there, could I have saved him? Could I have done that? And we know the answer to that. It's no, he couldn't have, but that's going to eat at him for the rest of his life. And I think that's really cool.
Yeah, let's just say this. If you see me hollering and clapping, cheering in Spanish, it's because something that I was just like, yay, they did that. Yeah.
I'm right there with you, bro. Yep, absolutely.
Like, cabron. I mean, yeah. You'll hear that from me if
You're
it
darn
happens.
tootin'.
Yeah. What about you, Johnny?
I mean, I feel like it's the cheap answer to say Joel, but Joel. But I've been preaching this for I don't even know how many
Since we
episodes.
met.
Yeah, since we met. Justice for Isaac has been served. Jeffrey Wright has
yeah.
come through.
That
and
grenade toss, dude.
Bro.
Bro.
Awesome.
Bro.
So nonchalant. Like, dude, I was so fucking excited to
Here,
see
hold this
Isaac
for
in
me.
the game. Yeah,
Josh
it
Peck?
just, dude, it's just like I was just so excited to see Isaac in the game. I didn't
Yeah.
even really know who Jeffrey Wright was at the time when I played the game. And I was so disappointed with what they did with his character in the game. And then after seeing the Batman, loving Jeffrey Wright in that,
Mm-hmm.
and then realizing that he was Isaac in the game and that they recasted him to come back in the show was like, I was jumping up and down, doing dances. I was so excited to see Jeffrey Wright come back and hopefully get to actually be a character this time around, because
You'd
like they
have more
built
than
him up.
like 3 minutes of screen time.
Yeah, like they built him up, and I was talking, I think, in one of the last episodes, like environmental storytelling works for like people that you don't really, get to see if you want to tell like a small little like add-on story to add to like the environment that like you're in the level or something. But when you have a character that's as important to the story as Isaac and just to the whole like world of really like The Last of Us that we're exploring, and for him to be a nothing character pretty much was a massive disappointment. So then to have Jeffrey Wright come back, give him actual character and story was awesome. Every time we cut away to Isaac, I was just hooked. I think that interrogation scene is one of the best scenes of the entire season.
Mm-hmm.
I think that cold open is one of the best cold opens of the entire show. As not only just because of the Josh Peck cameo, but just
Shout out.
just dude, setting him up for season 2 to hopefully see a good amount more of him just got me so excited. We already got more of him in one season of the show than we did in the entire 30-hour game of The Last of Us Part 2.
Yeah.
So, and I loved even the scene in the finale. That's probably one of my favorite scenes in the entire finale was this scene where he's like,
Yeah.
I really don't give a fuck about anybody out there except like Abby's the future. Like she's supposed to carry us on and, secure our future.
Which is funny because she's gone, and she also, that was what Jesse was for Jackson, and she took him away.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
They were both the stewards for their communities, and they've been usurped.
There goes my hero.
So, I mean, my cheat answer is Joel because I think Pedro just really became Joel for me this season. For sure. Like, he's the Joeliest he's ever been. So,
Put that on a t-shirt.
yeah, Pedro's the Joeliest Joel he's ever been in this season. And I love what they did with him. And some of the best acting I've seen him do just in general, not even just for the show.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then just if I can't have a cheat answer like that, then I would do Isaac or maybe even Jesse. Really enjoyed Jesse.
Young Messina, man. Yeah, having that like I'm with you, man, but I'm also not. I'm gonna say no.
Like you're
stupid.
a fucking moron, guy.
But yeah,
what are you doing?
Yeah. I'm also, you gotta think outside the box now, and like that's why he's Captain Jackson, if you will. Like
Yep.
Yeah, and
He's like the responsible friend who's always there for you, but exasperated every time.
Yeah.
DD, designated driver. He's the designated
DD.
driver of the group.
Damn it.
Also, what a get for Catherine O'Hara as Gale.
I was just about to
Gail-
say that.
Gail was
yeah,
great.
Gail was
Great
so
addition.
good.
Her reading The Earth Abides, which again, it's an Easter egg for Last of Us fans of where Itch comes from and how that book was also a big influence on the game. Her, does I look like the fucking doctor from Peanuts is saying doctor and just like, God damn it. And like, also, again, I love it when we speculate just off visuals and we're like, yo, is he going to tell her about what happened? Comes close, but doesn't happen. But it's a therapy session, and yet she's just like, fuck you, man. You kill my man.
Yeah.
Okay, I told you. Now let's see if this actually works now. And be like, fuck, man. And also, listen, the Seraphites, they're brutal, but I am so happy they got this scene. I'm so happy we got given this scene, especially that hammer. And, like, I don't know if that hammer's going to come back to play later on or not, but, like, I remember being like, yo, this is evil from them.
The hammer thing I thought was meant to accentuate Abby saying we don't kill unarmed people, and he armed her, and then that's when they felt comfortable killing her.
Yeah,
that is true too. And I agree.
It was meant to make her feel safe, but it made her a target.
Yeah, it did. Yeah,
So, but who knows with them? They've both. It's just like they've both enacted their own evils because, like, as much as like the game is like this exploration of tribalism, because as the players, we've gotten to know our characters, and then our community got hurt. So now we feel justified in doing what we're doing, and then they force us to walk through the other shoes. In the middle of like Abby and Ellie's navigation through these grays, you have these two people who are completely unwilling to see each other's perspectives, and they spend the entire time enacting these horrors on one another. Because it's hard to wonder if like how much of it, because honestly I don't remember like how much of that is a mix of zealotry versus self-defense, or some marriage of the two. That, well, this is, they've started killing us. Do we have to escalate our methods? Like, we don't know necessarily how that started. We're just coming into the middle of it, and that's just how it is now. And just seeing like how the world escalated to that point, and then then Abby having to be literally one of them who picks up somebody from that group and then bridging that gap in a way that nobody else has. I don't know. There's a lot of fun little things that the game plays with your points of view, and challenging people that love to like not branch outside of their tribe.
That line, Isaac, it was supposed to be her. She was gonna be the one. That line is gonna come hit back, I think, in season 3, because like you alluded to, there's just a change of air, a change of cycle, if you will, and like it's up until that moment that I'm like, okay, I'll start investing. All right, Larry, let's see what you got with this new element that I won't dive into. That like, okay, please get that right, because besides me being a Killer Dare fan, I need to care something about this element. But yeah, folks, I think that's gonna be wrapping up our thoughts on season 2. I think from across all our channels, you can see our coverage on a weekly basis of what we thought of the season. But I wanted to spend a week after everything came out to see how we feel and how we stand with this franchise and the adaptation of this game. Which, listen, as mixed thoughts as we mixed thoughts, as nitpicks or things we feel like could have been better, this is leagues and bounds better than what we've got in the past of video games adaptations on a grander scale. Like,
if it's this or Halo, I'm taking this.
Dude, easily.
What? No.
Started on that crap, dude.
Shout out to the classic Mario movie.
If it's this or the Uncharted movie, I'm taking this.
Again,
that's still better than most of what we've gotten. Not saying much.
I'll take the Tomb Raider movie from Alicia Vikander instead. But Castlevania, Fallout, Arcane, Cyberpunk, Edge Runners, I think that's the name of the title. This now
animated stuff.
I got
Mario, Sonic,
God damn it. Yeah, no. It is a profitable franchise. I'm hopeful. As even in these times, people think that's cliche and like campy. I'm hopeful that like the show will remain strong, will improve on without being reactionary, and that at the very least, bring us home. Make that landing smooth. I don't want to feel no turbulence and shit. I'm like, no. And don't be afraid of doing, longer seasons. Like 9 episodes was good. Maybe should have been 10 for last season, but like don't be afraid to do 11 or 12 episodes. Doesn't have to be 13, doesn't have to be 22 if you don't want to, but like
10's that like nice kind of sweet spot, I think.
It's not the 8s, it's not the 13s, it's right there, I think. And
I think a limited series is fine for 7, but when it's something like this, 10 I think is a pretty decent sweet spot, especially when you have as much story and lore as The Last of Us Part 2
volume
dripping in. So
I agree.
Yeah, all of our criticisms are come from a place of love, not disdain. It's all meant to be constructive.
And not a lot of places can say that, I feel like.
You don't see us fucking putting up an image of like, this what could have been how Ellie could have looked better, or it's just like no.
No, I'm overall very, very happy with the show. if they, like I said, I'm hard on it because Last of Us Part 2 is basically tied as being my favorite game of all time with the first one. So it's hard to just separate the two and accept changes, or but overall I was pretty satisfied with this season. Like I said, I liked it more than the first season. I think we all enjoyed the season. It's just, if we have to critique it,
Yeah.
Gotta critique it.
Yeah. Muchachos, thank y'all so much for spending the time out of your day to geek out with me about this franchise and these characters that I love so much. I want us to go around the left, starting with Johnny. Johnny, tell where can people find you, promote anything you got coming out or is out right now. Blow it out of the water.
I mean, you know me. I'm gonna be on Balls and Bricks as much as I can because I love nerding out about The Last of Us. Over on my channel, mostly on Twitch, Johnny506. I just did Music Monday with Chainsaw Reacts before I hopped on here. We make each other like playlists of music, and we try to get each other to like our music. And I want to try to get more into gameplay stuff. I'm thinking about replaying The Last of Us Part 2, so maybe I'll stream that. I'm not sure. And yeah, I've been gone for a while for content, but I'm thinking about also doing like a little life update stream maybe this weekend or something. So I'm trying to get back on the horse, trying to find Shimmer and get back on Shimmer, get back on track.
He's thinking he's back.
Yeah. I'm
Darren?
thinking I'm back.
Hello. You can find me over on Darren Sanctuary. We do a lot of live shows similar to this. We talked about every episode of Last of Us this season, which was very fun. I stream every Monday and Thursday, and I recently put up a compilation of all of our reviews from the season, which was added up to like a 6-hour-long upload. So if you want to hear more of my thoughts, that's where you can find me.
Beautiful. Mikel, Omni.
Down there, everywhere. Reactions, reviews, sometimes a game if life allows, but that. Oh, God damn it. Anyway. I just got reaction shit going on. You see my thoughts for every episode, and real-time experiences as well. Fun stuff. And we'll be back for season 3. I'm not one to jump ship. I made it through all of the Arrowverse. I can make it through The Last of Us.
Yeah, and
40
I've seen the bottom of the barrel.
doesn't get worse than this. Yeah. I also encourage people to go check out. I think is it Crossverse, Omni, the stream you did right now. Yeah, go check out that stream with other content creators and fellow fans.
The Reactorverse channel. Yeah,
Nerd Chronic, doing your thing, man. Shout out to you. Go check that out. I can't wait to watch and hear different perspectives after this season has concluded, whatnot. And folks, stay tuned. We have a lot of crazy ideas I got on my channel. Expect a lot of anime and manga related stuff. The bug bit me, and I feel like I gotta let it loose. And you may or may not see coverage for Predator Killer of Killers in the near future. I'm patiently waiting for Fallout Season 2. And there's a lot of stuff coming down the pipeline. No pun intended, Darren. And if you're heading to San Diego Comic-Con in July, I'll be heading out there. Feel free to say hi, and you'll be seeing a lot of coverage of that and what that's going to be like this year thus far. So yeah, as I said before, thank you so much, muchachos, for spending the time with me. But to you folks out there, as always, as Ellie said, to the edge of the universe and back. Endure and survive. Take care, everybody.